Welcome to the podcast, Wake Up Humans with Steve Judson.
All right, we got a special podcast for you now. Hanging out with one of my best friends, Dr. El Guapo, Eddie Martinez. Say hello to everyone, Eddie.
Hey, everybody.
Eddie is from Miami, Florida. And as we speak, we are in Florida, in Cape Coral, Florida, with our kids. Eddie's got 4 kids. I have 5. Every year we do a trip together to just kind of detach and reconnect and have a good time. Right, brother?
That's right. That's right.
So how did we meet? How long have we known each other?
I think it's definitely over 20 years, 25 years maybe.
Wow.
In school together.
Chiropractic school?
Chiropractic school. I think the time was around 1995, 96, something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we met at one of the adjusting clubs, right?
Right. So we had a upper cervical kale knee chest club at Life University, and that's where we met. Yep.
It was a funny thing with this. The knee chest adjustment is one of the most powerful adjustments in chiropractic, and it takes a lot of training. And we used to throw late parties till 3 a.m. where we would practice and do drills. Remember those times?
Yeah. Working on drills, adjusting, setups, philosophy. We get into arguments, just discussions about all that stuff. But it was more about just training and perfecting the art of what we were doing. Yeah.
It's funny because you think about the arguments, and we did. Our core group would argue different concepts and conversations about life, which I think is pretty huge. Like, how many people do you think actually do that, like challenge perspectives on life? Not many.
No, not many. And it's, and it's healthy. It's everybody has their own point of view or perspective, but, we always come together to the core of what we're about,
So I felt like you were going to say we always came together to the main thing.
Uh-huh.
What's the main thing?
The main thing is the main thing, and in chiropractic is checking people for nerve interference, which we call subluxation, and correcting it when it's there, and allowing the body to do what it's designed to do. That's can sum it up in a nutshell.
And what's interesting about that statement is the language of correcting it when it's there, which tells us what?
Well, it tells us that we're doing something with purpose, with a mission of monitoring and making sure that if it is there, we're going to do something about it. If it is not there, we just leave it alone.
Find it, fix it, leave it alone,
Right.
Which is one of the biggest principles where, a little bit about Eddie, he's got a big upper cervical practice. And upper cervical, for people tuning in that don't know the language yet, and you're not a chiropractor per se, because this podcast is literally going all over the world now, which is great, is the upper cervical is, how do you explain that to your patients, Eddie, about what the upper cervical is?
Well, I used to take a long time to really get into details and stuff like that, but as I've gotten older and more into this thing, I try to keep things as simple as possible. So I try to, just basically with visuals and just showing them the autonomic nervous system, the brain, spinal cord, and just illustrating to them and showing them that everything funnels through the upper cervical area. Everything has to get through that area, which is from the occiput, atlas, and axis, has to go through there and reach every other part of the body.
Right.
And just showing them, show and tell, they get it. It's when you keep it simple, they'll understand.
And what kind of things have you seen with people in your office that have had a subluxated atlas?
Well, you'll see things like, if you really want to get into how chiropractic started, which was a person that was deaf got his hearing restored. We've had that happen in the office. I've had people get their eyesight back. Kids just respond incredibly with immune system issues, mental issues, everything that is nerve related or nervous system related. You're going to see, what we some may call miracles, but it's just the way it happens. It happens whether you believe it or not. It's a principle. It's a law, just like gravity. And once you adjust the subluxated vertebra, people are just better.
Yeah, their body just starts restoring 'Cause I think the big picture is something greater than we could ever imagine created us.
Absolutely.
And when you said, as I get older, it's almost like you say less.
Yeah.
It's when we're younger, we're full of words. We're full of trying to prove ourselves, trying to protect the chiropractic profession, trying to protect what we're trying to do to people and help them understand. Where I think the older we get, it's just we realize it's a truth. It's a natural law, like you said. We always talk about the gravity. If you drop a pair of keys, no matter what you believe in, whether you believe in gravity or not, those are dropping.
100%.
And knowing you, I know that once you clear that atlas, that person is starting to heal at that moment, right? So, you talk about different. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, and think about it. We just had a family that's been coming in. This one, the father of the family, came in over years and years. Our kids played baseball together, years and years. He's been saying he wanted to come in, and finally he made it into the office. Got checked, got adjusted, and his life totally changed. I mean, he wrote this huge testimonial on Google for us, and it was I didn't ask him to write it. He just wanted to get the message out there that because he's been told by his landlord, who's a neurologist, that never go to a chiropractor because they'll break your neck, they'll make you paralyzed, things like that, crazy stuff like that you hear, that people hear. But he came in, and whatever he came in with was better. His relationship with his wife was better because things were working better, if you know what I mean.
A little pecker that could.
Yeah, exactly. And and now he has three boys, they all come in. His wife comes in, his mother-in-law comes in, his sister comes in, and when people see the results by doing so little and understanding that it's all inside of him, and all we're doing is making an adjustment. And I don't want to belittle what we're doing, but we're just making an adjustment so that their life changes and goes forward in a positive direction.
Well, you talk about belittling it, right? And we talked about those house parties we used to do.
Yeah.
We used to practice on what? Raw eggs.
Raw eggs, yeah.
And we had a mechanism which, how much pressure did it take to drop that mechanism?
Right. It would take 22 pounds to drop the mechanism, but 8 pounds of pressure, of force, to crack the egg.
So 22 pounds of pressure to drop the mechanism, 8 pounds to break the egg. So our technique training was to be able to drop the mechanism, torque and spin the egg without breaking it.
Right.
How many eggs did we break?
Oh, thousands.
Thousands of eggs.
But we worked at it and worked at it and worked at it. We got to the point where I remember I dropped that mechanism. My record was like 4 times because it's just part of the training. It's like, going to the batting cages when you're playing baseball and other things that you're gonna mess up, you're gonna screw up. But when it's game time, the results come in.
Well, it's repetition. It's like these patients that come in and they start care, and they say, "Well, how many times do I need to come in?" And I say, it's repetition. It's time and repetition. It's layers of getting that atlas cleared out, and the longer it stays clear, it gives your body more time to connect and heal. Where does that ever end? Where do we ever notice that power to keep the body as maximized as possible, where does that finish?
Right. Well, the question is, how long do you want to keep that connection going?
Right.
And, I'll ask that to the people that come in the office, and I let them answer, and they'll say forever. So,
right.
If you go to the chiropractor one time, you have to go forever. Well, it's basically up to you. I don't tell anybody that they have to come in, but if they understand why they're coming in, they'll understand that it's a lifetime thing.
Right.
You want to keep that light bright as long as possible throughout your life.
Remember our trip? I think we were in Russia together, and the little girl that threw up all the pills.
Yep.
So the
Whole pills, yeah.
They were bouncing out of her mouth. So we adjusted this little. She was, I don't know if she was in a coma or what she was.
I think, if I remember correctly, I think she had like severe cerebral palsy.
Right.
And she was just doped up. Like, it was just.
Like, we had to carry her and hold her in the air to turn her neck to adjust her, and then we were carrying her to another room, and you could see it coming, and she started projectiling vomit, and pills were bouncing off the floor.
Whole pills. Yeah.
And you remember the doctor? We were in a hospital.
We were the medical doctor, the director of the hospital. Yeah.
I handed him a broom and said, "Go clean it up."
Talk about the role switching and taking authority over what we know.
Right. He couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
He couldn't believe it. That was the same spot where someone got their hearing back.
Somebody got the hearing back. We got a bunch of kids that you know, in with the region we were in, for some reason, there was a bunch of kids that had crossed eyes.
Cross eyes, yeah.
And you know, the woman comes in with her daughter. She gets a, you know, there was a lot of people there. You know, we were seeing, I don't know, thousands of people.
Thousands.
And a woman comes in. I noticed the little girl with the eyes crossed, and she comes back out. The mom is in tears, crying, and I look at the little girl, and she's like, her eyes are perfectly normal.
Yeah.
You know, it still gives me goosebumps to this day. You know, when I talk about that stuff. You know, there was one other trip that I went before. I went in '94, and this was when I knew that I knew that I knew, and I was so confident in what the chiropractic principle is. We had a lady bring her baby, and baby was blue. And you know, I was still early in training, you know, and I wasn't very comfortable with adjusting children at the time, or kids, or babies, for that matter. And so I took a day and I just watched and I learned and I asked questions. And then it was time. They handed me this baby. I put it on the table, set that atlas, and you can see the color just, she turned red, pink and red. And you know, we had interpreters. The lady, the mom started, you know, crying. I made sure that they communicated what is happening right now. And you know, obviously there was something wrong with the chambers of the baby's heart. And we set that atlas. You know, that the energy, the power was going to her heart, and baby turned pink and was breathing normally, had life in it. And that's when and I still get goosebumps when I talk about that story, but that's when I said, okay, this works 100%. I have total faith in what we're doing. Yeah.
You know, I hear that story, and you and I have done a lot of these trips together, and we've been doing this 40 plus years together. And then when people ask me, well, do you have any research? I'm like, you know, chiropractic's been around over 125 years, human beings getting adjusted with amazing stories and results like that. What else does society need to get to understand this principle and to just start bringing their kids to a qualified chiropractor?
Yeah.
What has to happen?
Well, we just need to keep focusing on what we're doing.
Right.
Because chiropractic works, and we know it. You know, there's always limitations and stuff like that, but just like when you're driving off a cliff, you just fixed your brakes. Brakes are good, but you just put the brakes on a little too late, you're still going to fall off the cliff. So it always works. There's just that limitation. There are always limitations that matter. But the point is, and the big thing is, that we have to stick with talking about chiropractic. Keep the conversation chiropractic and the nervous system and the subluxation and the adjustment, and the research is there. There's been research done, you know. There's just things that we just need to repeat and keep in the public eye to make sure they know it's what we do that allows them to get better and express themselves better. You know, I don't know how else to put it. You know, there is research out there. We just have to keep doing what we're doing and do it more and do it better. So like the training that we would do in school, you know, I don't know how much that is done now.
Right.
You know, so I think we have to get back to that and just mastering our art and our communication, and that'll be the key.
Well, we got to raise our standard, and it goes back to what you said in the beginning about keeping the main thing.
Right.
You know, a lot of personalities come into our profession and they want to do other things.
Right.
And we always say, if you want to be a physical therapist, you know, we refer to an amazing physical therapy group in our town. We're not going to do physical therapy. That's up to the physical therapist. That's their art. They want acupuncture, we refer out. They want vitamins and nutrition, we send them to an amazing naturopath who's going to do blood work and saliva and all that and get them the best possible care. But we got to keep the main thing. And what we're saying is chiropractic is about detecting, correcting subluxation, and keeping families clear.
Right.
And that's all you've been doing for 20 plus years in Miami.
You know, and
thriving.
And we always said the dentist had it right. They have a specific niche. They do their thing. And we can do the same thing. And you know what? The spine is a lot more important than your teeth.
Right.
You know?
You can live without teeth.
You can live without teeth. You could replace different parts of the body. But your spine and nervous system, you got one, and you got to make it. You got to keep it at that as it's functioning the best.
You got to
possible.
nurture it.
Yeah.
You know, they invite dentists to schools to go through dental hygiene with children, which is a great thing. It's important.
Right.
But we're not teaching them how to take care of their nervous system. I mean, the bigger thing is everyone talks about the spine. knowing the physiology, it's what's the job of the spine? It's protecting the
Nervous
most important thing in the human body, and that's the nervous system.
Right.
So you got 4 kids, and they've been adjusted since they're how old?
Birth.
Minutes.
Minutes old. They're what I like to say is pure kids. They've never had an antibiotic. They've never had a vaccine. Because we know how the body works and how the body has an immune system, and the nervous system controls the immune system. And if you keep your nervous system clear, your immune system is going to be as strong as possible. So the body can deal with and adapt to anything that they come across.
Yeah. And your kids have done
that's-
pretty
and
darn well.
Pretty darn well. They're in college.
19 down to
19 to 11.
Wow.
So, and I know you got the same situation going on with you.
Well, it's we live in our own little island, and one of the intentions of this podcast is to get off the island, to get it out. When you and I go speak to groups, it's a lot of chiropractic groups, which we're blessed to do that. It's awesome. We have an amazing profession, amazing people. But where we're heading now is getting this message to the greater good, out to the people, to educate on why get your kids adjusted. Because we're always trying to fix things.
Right.
We're always trying to fix people's problems and get them to heal and adapt. But imagine if they started out in a better way, living clear.
Yeah. Number one, we, like you said, we talk to our peers, and I think it's important to do that because we need to get more people, more chiropractors to get out and talk about this stuff. Because the more they go out and talk about more stuff, it just multiplies, and then you get more people involved. But bringing it out like you're doing with Wake Up Humans, bringing it out to the public, understanding, and that's what you're doing, understanding that living clear is the foundation of everything else.
Right. I think, we talk about streamlining our communication and how less has become more. For me, and I know for you as well, we've talked about this many times, it's become about living clear and how's your atlas. If we can narrow the communication down to every man, woman, and child understanding what the atlas is and what it means to live clear, their whole life potential is going to go up.
Right.
And we see it with our own families.
Right.
We hang out with our kids, and we've got 9 kids downstairs and who are clear from day one.
Yep.
I mean, and that to me is enough research. And then if we take all our friends with all their kids and, you look at all these guys out there with their children, they're just healthier. And I think every mom and dad deserves that opportunity to make that choice without the stigmatism.
Right. Yeah, and it's the mindset too. So do they express health like we say, or get a cold, or express symptoms and stuff like that? Yeah, but they know, and they will never. They won't ask for something to alleviate their symptom.
Right.
Because they know they have to go through it.
Go through the process.
Go through the process. So it's teaching them a different mindset totally.
Well, I think that's the other cool thing. You bring up a great point is, our kids don't go through life without feeling pain, without going through stuff, without, they've all thrown up and had their body fight things and adapt.
Right.
But their education has been on allow the body to go through that process. As long as it's not life-threatening. I mean,
Exactly.
we're not idiots.
Exactly.
But as long as their body's adapting and clearing itself out, let it go through the process.
Right.
And just let it heal. I mean, what a principle to trust the body that created them from two small cells, a sperm and an egg, that it still can heal itself.
Right. Yeah, it's the law of life. That's it.
But man, it's insane. It's like we got to get this stuff out to the world. I mean, I want to say America. It's where I live, but we were just in Spain together, and it's there's not a chiropractor on every corner.
No.
There should be.
Yep. We definitely need more chiropractors. And I say that with a TORS capitalized.
Yeah. So I think it's just I really feel going into 2020, and by the time this podcast comes out, it will be 2020. And, as people go through their New Year's resolutions, there's always, in the beginning, they want to be healthier, right? And I'm here to tell them, and we've talked about this, if they start from a place of empowering themselves and getting clear, we know they're innate. Their inner voice is going to start talking to them. And I think that's a big lesson that we've shared with our kids is listening to that voice, listening to their innate, trusting their innate. Like, what is that? Right.
Well, it's funny that you say that. I was thinking about this the other day. Because growing up, I was always kind of like a daydreamer.
Well, you wanted to be a dentist, right?
I wanted to be a dentist. I wanted to be something totally different because my parents wanted me to be that, or my dad.
Your dad made teeth for a living,
He made
right?
teeth. He was a dental lab technician. and his dream was for me to be a dentist and we could work together, but that was his dream. But I went through the experience of experiencing being ill, in quotation, ill or not healthy, and my body not adapting, and I went through all these allergies and this and that, and it was through chiropractic that it allowed me to understand that my body needs to be able to adapt, and that's the whole thing of having a clear atlas, and the mental impulses from our brain to the rest of our body allows our body to adapt, and if that's the case, you're going to be okay. So it took me a long time to realize that, but that's what my experience went through. And when I realized that how it affected my life, I said, I want to do this, and I want to help other people realize this, and I want to help other people be clear.
Right.
So, but going back to, when I was a kid, I was kind of a daydreamer. I would always, society always tells you to stop doing that.
Stop dreaming?
Stop dreaming, So, and talking about wake up humans and stuff, when you can dream with your eyes open, but it's different than being asleep.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So all you have to do with your dreams and your daydreams, and that's your innate, your inner intelligence kind of talking to you and telling you what could be done or what you could become, and all you have to do is listen to it, even though society is telling you to stop doing that.
Right.
So it's kind of like waking up, not being asleep, listening to what you're doing, and then all you got to do is put some action behind it.
Right. Massive action.
Yep.
One of the things that I always tell students going through school is don't let school get in the way of your education.
Yep.
You got to get outside. You got to get around other doctors, other people that are doing big things. And
Right.
This is no matter what profession I tell kids getting into. Get around people that are living big, dreaming big, have achieved amazing things, and learn how they did it.
Right.
That's the greatest
Yeah.
education.
All these massive developments that have become from these geniuses, always everything started with a thought.
Right.
But they put time, effort, energy into that and made it happen.
Well, Napoleon Hill, he would go sit. Napoleon Hill would do this. Carnegie would do this. They'd go sit in a room in quiet, and they said they would just listen. Mm-hmm. And then the idea would come to them, or a thought would come to them, and they would write it down. And then that was how they did their biggest things in life. It wasn't like they were going out and searching for it. They allowed it to come through them.
Right.
And I think that ties into what we're talking about, living clear. Your body, when it's connected, you have a famous quote. What's that quote?
Yeah,
about
when you are clear, you are connected. And when you are connected, everything's going to be all right.
Everything's going to be all right. What if?
And that's what I want everybody to understand. That kind of boiled it down to that one concept. If you're clear and you understand what being clear is, and you're connected, then nothing bad can happen to you, and everything's going to be all right.
Right. Life just gets simpler.
Yep.
You have to think less. I was studying a trainer who works with some of the top athletes in the world, and he says what happens when they get to that big time is they start thinking too much. They forget about what got them there, which was their instinct,
Right.
their intuition. And he uses the word innate, that they just have that quick instinct to just go. When they get the thought, they go.
Right.
Then when they start overtraining and overthinking and trying to change their mechanics, it starts taking away from their performance. And I think there's a bit of that with school, with education with kids. I see it with kids, when the parents are telling them no all the time, or stop running so fast, don't
Right.
do this. Then they get on a field and they're just hanging out. Now they want them to go run fast, and it's like, well, you took part of that animal out of them. That's
Right.
their natural instinct that you shut down.
Right.
And when you live clear and connected, that wakes up again. I think that's one of the biggest things I've seen in our office is when people start getting adjusted, they could come in for sciatica. Then all of a sudden you realize they're sleeping better, they have more energy, they're happier, their relationships are better, they're doing better at work, they quit their job, start their own business, their whole world changes, and they look at you in the eye and say, it's all since I started getting clear.
Right.
That is an amazing principle.
Yeah. It's
Amazing.
awesome. It's awesome.
And that's what we want to bring to people. That's what Wake Up Humans has become, is sharing it with the world so they could share it with their loved ones and wake the freak up.
Yeah.
And it's happening.
Yeah. It's time.
Yeah. So what else we got, bro?
Let's
Eddie
see.
is a man of few words. I'll tell you that right now. He's very concise in his thought process, and what you see is what you get. And that's one of the things I always loved about him, because I've been known to go off and carry on and do things, and whenever I didn't know something, I would just ask him, and he always gave me the answer, and kind of looked like it came from me, but it really didn't.
Yeah, I'm just grateful and blessed to be where I am, and come from the journey that I came through, and I'm so blessed to be surrounded by myself with you and other friends in our profession and in our life that think the same way and think that all the answers that we have are on the inside.
That's it. And I think
that's
our biggest
that's
message.
the big thing. There's everybody. If you look at and you really look at society, everybody's looking for something, some magic thing, magic bullet from the outside to take care of everything. And you don't have to look far, and it's right under your nose. It's right inside you.
Look within.
Yep.
I think that's a great space to leave people with.
Yeah.
That if you get anything out of this podcast, that's the thing we're trying to teach you is to stop, look within, take responsibility for yourself, and then trust your wisdom.
Yeah.
And when you wake up, all things are possible.
That's right. That's right. And my thing is, and you said I'm a man of few words, because I observe and I listen, but I'd really rather people learn from my example than what I say.
And that they do. Amen, brother. We'll end it there.
All righty.
You've been listening to Wake Up Humans with Steve Judson. To get Steve's books, Wake Up Humans and Atlas Adjusted, just visit Amazon. The Wake Up Humans podcast is a copyright of Steve Judson. Be sure to look up other episodes. Wake Up Humans will educate, inspire, and bring you clarity. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Humans with Steve Judson. Visit wakeuphumans.org.